Everyone, anyone who uses TikTok will notice this huge movement in fat acceptance, as well as a lot of people making petitions to change certain things to make it easier for those who are larger, which doesn't sound that bad, but there are a few people who take it to another level and make it really extreme, to the point that they just make unrealistic demands. And for this video, you will see some of those people, as well as others who try to say that being obese is good, despite all the health risks. Personally, I think self-acceptance is good, but there were parts of this video that made it really feel like these people were just coping.
Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to the Queer Tom channel. I'm your host, Tom, and today we're going to be talking about fat phobia.
Hi, ladies. How you doing?
I want to kill you!
Oh, yeah. Take a number, honey.
Yeah, I'm sure that happens a lot, bro. So in the last few years, there's been a big movement of fat acceptance on the internet. It's the idea that there's nothing wrong with being overweight, and instead of having a social stigma around it, we should all just accept it. We should accept our balloon boys with open arms and push the idea that there's nothing wrong with being morbidly medically obese. And I've avoided talking about this issue for quite some time because I felt that it was basic common sense that, yeah, being overweight is bad for you. But now things have gotten bad to the point where even I feel the need to speak out on this issue.
Take a number, honey.
And when I feel the need to speak out, you know you're being retarded. We're at the point now where people are trying to get the FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration, to require all airlines to have a customer of size policy for plus-size passengers.
Have you heard stories of plus-size travelers being ridiculed, humiliated, or even removed from flights because of their size? It's a common fear among the plus-size community, and it's absolutely unacceptable. Join my petition calling on the FAA to require all airlines to have a written official customer of size policy for plus-size travelers. This policy will provide accessible additional seats, clear communication, reimbursement, accommodations, and employee training. As my petition states, all plus-size passengers should be provided with an additional seat or 2 or 3 depending on their size and need during a flight for comfort. Under this policy, airlines should also offer a straightforward refund process for those who are buying additional seats independently. Under this policy, employees must be trained to handle sensitive situations and provide appropriate customer service. Sign this petition to demand that airlines take concrete steps towards making air travel more inclusive and accommodating for all passengers. Let's ensure that everybody can fly comfortable without fear of discrimination. Sign my petition now. Link in bio.
And this is a completely...
I like that title of the community they have, plus size. Also, I really don't think it should be that complex. I understand that if you're like obese, you should have like an extra seat, but do you really need to go that far where you have to like get the FAA, whatever it's called, to get employees to be trained to handle these kind of situations? Because I think 2 seats is enough for someone. I don't think you have to go for this extra steps of making sure there's like 10 guidelines on a contract to make sure like a flight is as perfect as can be for someone like that massive.
The delusional request. Asking for airlines to accommodate someone because they're too gelatinous to fit into a single plane seat is insane. If you want to go out of your way to
I guess the least you could do is like maybe put a condition where if you're big enough that you need 2 seats to be comfortable, there should be like a reduction in price, because it's not really, you're taking up 2 seats for 2 people, but you're only 1 person. I would get that. It's just the previous conditions she made that have to go that far.
2 or 3 seats for your flight, that seems fine to me as long as you're paying. But the idea that airplane seats should be made larger for these people, or that there should be like a bigger ramp, or the special training is needed is just ridiculous. It never ceases to amaze me how someone with a clearly debilitating health issue that they chose to have will demand that the world around them change to accompany their issue rather than trying to change themselves. There's an entire world out there made for adults that are like 300 pounds, I would say, you know, probably up to 300 pounds you can function pretty normally, and even 300 is pretty big. At pretty much any height, that's pretty big. You can be relatively fat in today's world and still be decently accommodated by most situations. And the response from J-Bay over here is not that she should lose weight to be like the bare minimum weight to like fit into a fucking car seat. It's not that she should lose weight to like make her life better and longer. Her response is that she should just be 500 pounds. She is 500 pounds, and therefore the world needs to bend to her will.
Very good point. If you're willing to like get the airline services to accommodate for you, then imagine all the other services in your life that you have to account for as well. Like if you take a bus, does that mean that every bus has to have like a massive area just for someone like that massive? I just think it's very rare that your size actually does cause a problem in most situations where you're with other people. I think airlines is the one situation, but that's only because, you know, most flights are like up to an hour or more. Therefore, it does make sense that you want to be, you know, comfortable.
Accurately, the plane wing is going to bend and snap off when she steps on board.
J-Bay went pretty viral recently after this petition was released, and so she decided to clear up the rumors and misconceptions around her situation by responding to the allegations.
Today, I want to talk about the misconceptions regarding my petition. I recently started a petition that demands the FAA to protect plus-size travelers and customers of size, which millions have heard about now around the world. My petition is about ensuring that every individual has access to safe and comfortable air travel. It's not just about plus-size individuals, but also about individuals with disabilities who may require additional space or accommodations to travel safely and comfortably. By having regulations in place that protect plus-size individuals, it would also benefit those with disabilities, ensuring that they have the space and accommodations they need to travel comfortably.
I understand what she means by that, because I'm guessing in her mind she imagines like one section of the plane that's bigger for someone to sit down. But I'm pretty sure most planes do have that, but they're specifically for people in wheelchairs, so they have a place to like sit down and also like put their wheelchair when it's collapsed. I just think that's a bit of a cope, you know, to try to extend that to like disabled people as well, because I'm guessing like she saw the backlash that her petition got and she wanted to like backpedal and be like, no, I also meant it for like disabled people as well.
Problem at hand. Being obese definitely does disable you from various things, but unlike, let's say, someone with a broken leg, or someone who's just in a wheelchair due to health issues, or someone with a cognitive disorder that makes them unable to function, someone who's fat can choose not to be. It doesn't take one day, it may take months or years to lose weight, but they make specific choices to get them to that place, which is eating. Meanwhile, someone who's traditionally disabled, can't believe I just fucking said that, are disabled must return to tradition. This is someone who literally cannot change how they are. That's
a good point. I do understand what he's saying there, but I do think most people who are really obese are unfortunately born with like an eating disorder that maybe, I think it's like to do with like a metabolism that really makes them gain weight and like not burn the fat. So I understand that, but I do think it is better to be born with that kind of disorder as opposed to being, you know, disabled with like not being able to walk, because then it is hard, but you will be able to like change your diet and, you know, work out and lose the weight. It would be extremely hard, but there are also like medical procedures to help you lose the weight. So I really do believe that there are a lot of like solutions to like lower your weight. That's why I think it's kind of shitty to like group obese people with disabled people, because they really don't have that kind of like as many freedom of options as like obese people. They have way more solutions to their issues than someone like who's blind or deaf or they can't walk. Where for them, they definitely need more assistance, like having a caretaker help them go somewhere.
It's an unsolvable problem that is baked into their genetic or circumstantial cake, and you just can't fix that, okay? Someone who's fat may eat as a coping mechanism for some issue earlier in their life, or they may just love chocolate cake a lot, okay? There's no doubt in my mind that some people who are obese probably had some sort of issue in childhood or development that led them to eat that much or think it was okay. Maybe their parents encouraged that kind of behavior. Maybe, you know, I remember some story about some woman who was, I think she was abused in childhood, and that led her to eat as a coping mechanism to make her, you know, seem less attractive to someone who would want to abuse her. And that's horrible, okay? That's horrible. But for most people who are, you know, morbidly overweight, it is an issue that can be fixed and can change. And so to group people who are morbidly overweight in with someone who's, let's say, you know, someone with cerebral palsy is ridiculous. I will not allow these people to occupy the same space as Beetlejuice, okay? He is goated with the sauce. These people are liars.
What color is a carrot?
Carrot? I think it's a carrot. Carrot, but I don't know about carrots. I don't know nothing about that.
1 minus 1 equals.
Equals 35.
Taller individuals.
I love Beetlejuice so much. Now I think he deserves, if someone of plus size deserves to have 2 seats, Beetlejuice deserves to have like a whole private jet for himself. I love him so much.
Also face many of the same challenges that plus-size travelers face when traveling by air. Legroom is often limited, and plane seats are designed for the average size individual. By having regulations in place that protect plus-size travelers, taller individuals would also benefit greatly. Lastly, there are individuals who physically take up more space regardless of their size, and they also deserve to have access to safe and comfortable air travel. By signing my petition, we are not only advocating for the rights of plus-size individuals, but for the rights of all individuals who face challenges when traveling by air. Let's stand together and demand that the FAA takes action to protect the rights of all air travelers. You can check out my petition by clicking the link in my bio or heading to change.org/plus-size travel. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. Make sure to hit that follow button for more plus size travel tips and advocacy.
I mean, once again,
Yes, he's really like trying to push the boundaries. First, it started with like obese people, then disabled people, and then just anyone, like a tall person, I guess. He's really trying to like clump it together to make it seem like there's more support or there's more reason to sign the petition. Even though I've seen a situation where someone's uncomfortable being in a plane, is so rare that it really doesn't warrant for there to be like a huge movement to like airline companies to redesign their planes or like change their employee training. Because that's the thing, if there's one industry that is so unwilling to bend to like the rights of customers, it is like the airline industry, because they design planes to carry as many people as possible. So it's not like they're gonna completely change every plane to have one area for one person. Plus, I've never really been on a trip where I've seen one person really uncomfortable. When I've stood up, I've seen everyone, they can like completely find their seats. It's not like they're like one person has like craned their neck because they're really like high up on the ceiling. So I think it's so incredibly rare that even if they did a section for these kind of people that would be really uncomfortable, it would be taken by someone else, because that is so rare that, yeah, I highly doubt anyone's gonna like actually need that space.
Again, this is just not an apt comparison. Someone who is tall did not choose to be tall. Someone who's overweight made life choices to be in that position. If you act in a manner that differentiates you from 95% of people on purpose, then you cannot expect that 95% to relinquish some of their opportunities and rights for you, especially when what you're trying to do is a genuine inconvenience to everyone around you. And of course, the top comment here on her TikTok is just someone telling her to pay for her own extra seat, which makes sense. Like, if you're gonna choose to be that fat and you want to live that way and be proud of yourself, fine, but you shouldn't expect to like be afforded cheaper options than someone else. You want to buy more food, buy another plane seat. And look, I understand travel is expensive as all hell, but if you're gonna be fat, don't be broke too, okay? Pick a struggle. And then these people go on like YouTube videos to be rated based on their attractiveness and are so shocked and surprised that a bunch of people are not attracted to someone who is, relatively overweight.
It's so f***ed up to say, but like I guess physically, like you're not as fit as I would prefer personally. I would say like evened out at around a 6. 5.
You get a 9 from me, for sure.
Of course, a black guy gives a fat woman a 9.
Getting low ass ratings.
I think there are definitely some negative
That's
messages.
one of this really funny article that made me lose my shit. It was like, plus size women don't see obese men as attractive. That was so fucking funny.
Perpetuated by the media around being skinny. That's probably led to some young girls getting eating disorders where they're, 70 pounds. If you guys knew any chicks in high school, chances are one of them had an ED and it caused them to be extremely skinny. And some of these girls suffer with that, late into their 20s and 30s even. And some of that comes from the media and some of that comes from model culture, which encourages some women to basically barely eat so that they're verging on Eugenia Cooney territory. Because that was the culture for a long time around modeling, around fashion, and that's horrible. But now things have swung completely the other way, and we're in an era where being completely unhealthy on the other side of the spectrum is being celebrated and people are treating it like it's not unhealthy at all, which is of course a lie. It's a falsehood that people like to propagate because they don't want to accept the fact that they're unhealthy. They don't want to admit the fact that they're doing something disgusting and unhealthy for their body, and as a result they have to come up with these mental copes. And unfortunately a lot of other, morbidly overweight people online also want to push that kind of ideology because it lets them absolve them of responsibility for their own actions. Now keep in mind, this is not the majority of fat or overweight people. The majority of people who are overweight know it and they want to get better and they're actively trying to change, or in their head at least, they want to change at some point in the near future, right? But there is a subset of people who are just huffing this copium constantly.
I mean, this is iconic.
It's very sad to see someone live like this, and even worse is the fact that his friends keep encouraging him to ruin his own life.
I'm basically forcing myself to eat.
And obviously Nick...
I think Nick Avocado is a bad example because he was definitely one of those people that kept on eating food and being fat for content because that would give him the most attention, with people like laughing at him and making videos on him, which made him more popular.
Avocado is trolling here, but there are genuinely people out there pushing the idea that there's nothing wrong with being overweight. And now there are even people on TikTok being like, how there's this trend of like, here's what I eat in a day is like a cute skinny girl. Well, now there's like,
here's what I eat in a day as a overweight girl.
It's crazy.
That's really, so far it's not that bad. I'm guessing this is around like lunch. This is really not that bad for someone who looked pretty big. No, also not that bad, yeah.
Harmless, like she's not saying that being overweight is healthy and fine. But you have these other people saying...
Yeah, that was more like wholesome, I guess, than other people who are really diehard.
Feel better, be in less pain, be healthier, all of these things, that's fatphobic, okay?
I mean, this is just pure delusion. This is mental illness, in my opinion. The idea that losing weight to improve your quality of life is internalized fat phobia. If that's internalized fat phobia, then maybe fat phobia is good. Maybe being fat phobic is a good thing, no? What are these people even saying?
I don't know, fashion makes like no money unless you're a thin white woman. So, she's a thin white woman.
And like, yeah, it shouldn't necessarily be a shock that being obese is not that fashionable. And this white chick is complaining about how you have to be a thin white woman to be successful. Firstly, there are definitely famous and successful people who are in fashion, who are models, who are black, Hispanic, Asian. Even Canadians can be fashion models now, guys, okay? Even they have representation. Oh, Canada, I shed a tear for thee. But this woman could make money as a model, but she decided that instead, being able to eat 4,000 calories a day is way more important to her than being a model. That's
yeah,
okay.
I definitely seen a lot like obese models like in fashion as well, so it is getting more popular.
The problem is that people in general are not attracted to people who are extremely overweight. I mean, if you think about it, evolutionarily, it makes sense on paper when I think about it. Like, you know, if you're a man and you're attracted to women, right? Having a partner that's extremely overweight is probably not a good thing in terms of the child, because the child could have a lot of health complications as a result of that. And now videos are also being made about how it's easier to be healthy when you have more money, which can be true. That being said, these specific things these people are saying are not the end of the story. I think people are on some copium on this message, okay?
You're overweight, like, just work out. But my sister brought up a really, like, mind-blowing point. When you're being fat phobic, you're also being a little bit classist. Have you heard of this argument?
I've not heard of that.
When you're somebody who has less money, it's a lot easier to be overweight.
To buy a whole meal at a grocery store is a lot more expensive. But if you go, like, to say a McDonald's, they have like $1
or Little Caesars.
Yeah, you could get pizza for $10.
That is such bullshit. Fast food is such a bad example to prove. That's your point.
Or 50, depending on how big your family is.
To even have time to work out is also a privilege. A lot of people who are like lower income, they're working to get by, bro. They're working long hours, long shifts. They're not gonna have time to even work out. Like, obviously, they're gonna be overweight.
Or like they're too tired to cook, so they're just buy a piece of pizza.
It's not necessarily anybody's fault, right? It's not necessarily an ugly thing because people can't help but be overweight.
Now, what this girl just said is completely wrong. Fast food is convenient and cheap compared to other restaurants, but fast food is not cheap overall compared to grocery store
Exactly,
food.
yeah.
Let's just do the math real quick. Let's say you have a family of 4 and you want to take them to McDonald's. 2 adults and 2 teenagers we're talking about here, okay? The average American family. By using McMenu.com, we can see that the
I don't
average
want to say
price...
now to realize, I think she was kind of taking like the wrong path. I'm guessing I slightly understand what she meant, because I think people who are poor or struggle with money might be depressed, which might lead them to like eat as a, you know, to make them feel better. I'm guessing that was like the point trying to prove. But yeah, she went about it the wrong way.
Price of a quarter pounder with cheese meal is $11. That's a quarter pounder with fries and a drink. Multiply that by 4 and you have a $44 order of McDonald's, which is pretty expensive, especially if you're making minimum wage. How much would it cost you to make that meal at home? Well, on Walmart,
Like $2, I guess, maybe. Way less.
2.5 pound tray of ground beef, which
Yeah,
is
there you go.
$12. Now, this is already a ton of food and can be used for multiple
2
meals.
stars. I'm sorry, I couldn't ignore that. That must be some really shitty meat.
Night for tacos and probably another night for something else. This 2.5 pound tray of ground beef is the equivalent of 10 quarter pounders in terms of the meat available, but the 1 pound of beef option is $6.50, which is the exact amount of meat you would need to make 4 quarter pounders at home. Burger buns are $2, American cheese is $2.50, which rounds out the ingredients for the burgers to about $10. The price of 1 quarter pounder from McDonald's is the same price as all of the ingredients needed to make that meal for 4 people at home. And if you really want to be complete about the meal, fries are $3.50 for 2 pounds. And those fries and any leftover cheese or meat or burger buns can be used for other meals as well. You don't have to throw that out. And so therefore, it's about $13 or $14 in total. Maybe you can round up to like 15 if you want to get pickles to make a quarter pounder with cheese meal for 4 people, which is like a third of the price of the McDonald's order we just calculated. The truth is that McDonald's and other fast food is not particularly affordable, and you're much better off just buying these ingredients. And while a burger is never going to be that healthy, undoubtedly this option is much better for you than the processed shit that McDonald's is going to give you. It's definitely more filling, and you can make it yourself at home instead of having to drive to McDonald's and drive back, which could be a 5-minute drive one way, or it could be a 20-minute drive one way. And to even use this girl's comparison around pizza dough is like $2.50, pizza sauce is $2, mozzarella is $2.22, pepperoni is $2.75, so it's like $10 once again to make a pizza. As for having the time to work out, this actually does make sense. Like you definitely have less time to work out if you have longer hours, and obviously that time is more valuable to you. The gym membership can be expensive, so do you really
That is
have
true,
time
but
for
if
that?
you have longer shifts, I imagine you're probably walking around more or using more energy. So I guess it's to some extent it is some like working out a bit.
But I acknowledge the fact that it does take quite a bit of time. And if you do have a little free time and you just worked a 10-hour shift and you have a family, you probably want to spend that time with your family, so you can be reminded about the fact that there is a point to life that isn't stocking shelves, right? But at the same time, if you want to be healthy, if you want to eat economically, then you should go grocery shopping once a week, and on your off days, do a little meal prep instead of going to McDonald's. Fast food is a fucking scam at this point. It's not cheap. When I go to McDonald's, it's honestly not even that fast. You're way better off going to the grocery store, after work, go home, make food. Now, is it easier for someone who's super rich to be healthy? Yes, I think there's no doubt about that. But it's not impossibly difficult for someone in a poor financial situation to be healthy or healthier. Don't drink soda. Don't eat junk food. Make meals at home when you can. Buy things in bulk. Budget your finances. And I think these people are coming from a good place here, but a lot of what they say comes across as pure copium. Because at the end of the day, there is a level of personal responsibility that has to be accepted. Or you can be J-Bay and do videos on TikTok with your little nose tubes pretending there's nothing you can do to change.
In July of 2022,
That
the
does
US
feel kind of
Department
shitty. I feel like she only has that to gain sympathy, oh, look at me, I'm struggling.
Transportation issued a 16-page document, including a Bill of Rights for airline passengers with disabilities. As a plus-size traveler that lives with disabilities, I want to talk to you about it right now. In this video, I'm going to discuss the 10 different rights that were outlined in this document. The first one, and the one that I love the most, is the right to be treated with dignity and respect. The second one is the right to receive information about services and aircraft capabilities and limitations. The third one is the right to receive information in an accessible format. The fourth one is the right to accessible airport facilities. The fifth one is the right to assistance at airports. Number 6 is the right to assistance on the aircraft. The 7th one is the right to travel with an assistive device or a service animal. The 8th one is the right to receive seating accommodations. Check out part 2 of this series for the last 2 rights and more information.
And the thing about this is
that she made it sound way more formal than it actually was. That's like something every single like airline service gives to you for free or for absolutely nothing.
I think people come from a good place here, like just wanting people to feel better about themselves, not wanting to be mean to people who are overweight. But the end result of their rhetoric and language is going to be that a lot of people believe it and then engage in horribly destructive lifestyles for a long time.
Fat people are allowed to eat what they want without feeling guilty about it. Get over it.
You shouldn't feel guilty as if you are harming other people. I mean, maybe J-Bay should, because J-Bay pushes this fat acceptance bullshit. But on average, if you're fat and you're not like pushing for others to be fat, you don't have to feel guilty for others, but you should be aware of the fact that firstly, you're increasing the methane being released into the air that comes from your toxic shits, but you also...
Okay, wow. It's a pretty big stretch, yeah. Jesus.
The worst part about this is that it's now spread to YouTube with various commentary channels making videos talking about fat phobia and fat acceptance. We'll start with this gem from the Queer Kiwi, who I gracefully took inspiration from for the intro of my video.
I'm giving you a warning. This is your warning. Okay, I've warned you.
So, tell me, what's it like being blind?
So, listen, this one's easily the best one. We're easing into it. But I just have a problem with the idea of people using like fat as an insult to themselves or to others. You know what I mean? Like, it is a big problem. It is fat phobic. Like being like, I'm fat, and having your boyfriend being like, no, are you blind? As though being fat is like the worst thing and it's a bad thing. It's not. We should stop using fat in a derogatory way. We should stop using it as like as something that you have to be like, no, you're not. No, you're beautiful, because you can be fat and beautiful. Those two things can and do coexist. So we need to stop being like, I'm fat, and having people be like, no, you're not. This is not a problem. It's a body type, and it's not something that we need to tell people that they aren't. You know what I mean? Like, it's unimportant, and being fat doesn't mean you aren't
beautiful.
And this is what's so confusing. Being fat is undoubtedly a bad thing. If you want to go by the science, which I think Queer Kiwi probably believes in, being fat is an extremely unhealthy way to be. And we know this already. This is set in stone. It doesn't need to be explained. Being fat is bad. There should probably be some social stigma around something that causes people to die early. Instead,
because I feel like, I just want to say this now before I forget about it, I feel like that TikTok she showed as an example was more of like a couple situation, because it's more of a joke of how girls see themselves and how their boyfriends are always like, no, you're not fat, you know. It's more of like a harmless joke than a really malicious video.
Instead, these people would rather say things like, you can be fat and beautiful. I mean, beauty is subjective. I mean, I guess if you want to find fat people attractive, like, that's fine. I would disagree, but some people have their own tastes, and that's whatever. But the idea that being fat is a body type is just wrong. There are variations in people for sure. Some people naturally have a higher body fat percentage. Some people are naturally very skinny. But being genuinely fat or to the point of medical obesity is not a body type that occurs naturally. It is a lifestyle choice for 99% of people that are that way. And it should be treated as a lifestyle choice, and it should be treated as a bad one.
And being fat doesn't mean you aren't beautiful. Like, this girl isn't fat. That is just true. But we don't need to talk about it in a negative light and use it as a way to insult ourselves. This is just a weird TikTok. It's got weird energy. I
really didn't see the TikTok as that way. It's more like a, you know,
I feel like it
a
has
simple
rather
joke.
normal energy, because the average person doesn't want to be overweight. Chicks don't want to be fat. People in general don't want to be fat.
Because I feel like it's a very common view
idea,
people have themselves, where they see themselves as more fatter as they really are.
Phobia comes from the same place that racism does.
That kind of attitude comes from the same roots as racism. It's the same kind of judgmental, prejudicial attitude.
What the?
Let's say Ben Shapiro's the next video in the autoplay from your video about Lizzo. Probably happens a lot more often than you think, whether the person watches it or not. The harmful right-wing content, because it was the autoplay of your next video,
But how is that
and
my
they
fault?
feel the same.
I stayed in silence because I wanted to get everything you were saying. This is such a unique argument because it's like, well, your video was next on autoplay or Ben Shapiro's and
No,
like,
no.
Okay, but how is
I'm
it my
telling
fault?
you.
How is my fault? And on top of
I regret not saying quiet. I regret saying something, because now I have no idea what its context is.
What I was talking about.
Am I really expected to take this person seriously as a social activist? Someone who has the audacity to compare fat phobia to racism? Someone who believes that being unhealthy to the point of medical obesity and the stigma that comes from that is comparable to American slavery? Well, this may come from a good place of, hey guys, don't be mean to people. Being mean is bad. Sometimes trying to do the right thing does more harm than good, and in this case, I think it definitely is. Being kind and overly kind to people who are destroying their bodies is not the best solution. Now, keep in mind, I am friends with overweight people, okay? I'm not gonna not be friends with someone because they're overweight, and I'm not gonna go out of my way to tell them yo, you fat as shit. I'm not gonna do that. But if they talk to me about it and ask me, I'm not gonna lie to them, okay? I'm gonna say, hey bro, listen, if you're asking me about that, if you're asking me, you're probably a little insecure. If you feel that way, you should probably go to the gym and you'll feel better. And if you want to be nice to fat people, then you should also be acknowledging the medical scientific reality of their situation rather than sticking your head in the sand like an ostrich and ignoring it all. As a culture, we should not celebrate something that leads people to have chronic health issues, decreases the quality of their life, and makes them die before they can meet their grandkids. And if you personally
Plus,
want
that feels way more patronizing to be like, oh no, you'll find the way you are, when it really isn't.
This girl, for example, claims that she tried to lose some weight, and she did, but she hated it, and she decided not to do that. She loved being overweight.
I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. Everyone was so happy for me. I hated myself.
I think most people who try to lose weight at the gym end up disliking it, and they develop this coping mechanism where they start acting like they really like how they are, even though I feel like deep down they do wish they could be different. But since they struggle so much with losing the weight at the gym or getting a healthy diet, this is the only way to make themselves feel better. Even though I feel like most people, if they do persist more and keep going to the gym more often and develop a proper workout, over time they would appreciate the decision to keep going, and they would some people even love going to the gym after they break through a barrier. I think every person who tries to start a fitness journey breaks a certain barrier at one point in their journey where they go from really hating it to really liking it, which makes them much more happier and actually makes them enjoy what they're doing.
And okay, fine, whatever. But don't lie about what you're doing. Don't lie about it being healthy. Healthy at every size is not real. It's not. You're healthy at some sizes, and you're not healthy at others. And if you're the queer Kiwi, or Ethan is online and want to pretend being fat is healthy and fine, and fat phobia needs to be stopped, just stop. Stop pushing this fat acceptance bull. It's terrible. It's bad. If you want to talk about spreading harmful ideas to your audience, this is one of the ones that you're spreading right now. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye! And if
the video? Oh, yes, a Patreon. No, it's not Patreon, it's YouTube. Whatever. But anyways, one last thing I want to say is that I think it's really, the worst thing about these kind of people is that they try really hard to lie to themselves, which I think is horrible. I really don't think it's that bad for some people to be, fat. It's only when they try to lie to themselves and be like, no, this is fine, I'm happy with this. Because deep down, people who try really hard, people who say that a lot, I feel like deep down just want to convince themselves that they're fine with it but just a slight bit of them that really doesn't like it, which leads them to act more persistent in their mindset that this is fine. I think it's better to just accept the way you are, because at that point you're actually being happy because you're not fighting this battle in your head that being obese is okay. For some people where it's actually creating some health issues, they should get better. But for most people, I really don't think it's that huge of an issue if they are fat. There are definitely a lot of people who accept the way they are and live a happy life. I really don't think it's that big of an issue to be fat. I only think it's an issue when you become really obsessed with it and you can't accept the way you are, so you keep on trying to lie to yourselves, either by pretending you're happy the way you are, which is why I think the best two solutions is to accept yourself or go to the gym. I've seen people who are massive and they still have a huge transformation, and I think most people who lie to themselves and be oh, even if I do go to the gym, it won't be that big of a huge difference, or it won't go well. I think they do have the potential to actually come out really good. It's just it's what everyone says. It's a huge mental battle to develop a better routine, a better diet, which is why I think it'd be better to have a bigger push on this kind of mentality on either being more healthy or just accepting the way you are. I think those two solutions would be the best, but that won't be an ideal reality where people don't complain this fucking much, but that would never happen.
You can't make a move or elude the feud about to be cued. A soloist journey through the mist now found. Assassinate the sound with choke by the pound. Make my own type of home on the phone. MC